Hey, welcome back to the tip of the day. Behind me, you'll see my colossal Christmas sign. When I was at Pottery Barn, I saw these really awesome vintage, antique-y looking barnwood signs. They were so expensive, like $200. And they were awesome, but I'm not gonna spend $200 on a sign for Christmas. That's out for like literally 30 days. So I decided to make my own. Kinda turned out like a colossal fail. I love the way it looks, but it's ginormous and it was pretty time consuming. But I'm gonna show you because I always show you the successes. I gotta show you the fails too, and who knows, maybe you want a ginormous Christmas sign in your house. Here we go. So here's the piece of wood that we're starting with. It's one of those rough pine shelves, I guess. It just has a bunch of boards all pressed and glued together. It was really inexpensive. It's about 3/4 inch by 6 feet long, by about 16 inches wide. So I'm really excited. We're gonna paint it white and then put some letters on it and distress it and make a Pottery Barn inspired Christmas wood vintage-y looking signy thingamabobber. Hopefully for just a fraction of the price. The original sign is about $199, $200, and we're hoping to do it for under $15 total. So I finished putting one coat of chalk paint on this old board. I'm really excited to show you guys how to put the message on it. That's going to be really fun. But when I was at Canadian Tire, I found these bell candle holders, and they're this ugly coppery gold horrible color, but they were on clearance for $3 each, probably because they're hideous. So I'm painting them now that I have the paint out white as well, and then I'm going to sort of distress them and make them look old, because all the stores I'm looking at, vintage looking Christmas bells is everywhere. They have it in garland, they have wreaths, they have all this cool stuff, and it's so expensive. So Canadian Tire, $3. Such a great deal. So I'm going to paint them white and then distress them and make them look like old Christmas bells, candle holders to match my living room. So I've cut out all my letters and I've actually measured them so they're all exactly 2 inches apart, and then 5 inches from the top and 5 inches from the bottom. So this is probably the best way to do it. Now I'm going to just take a pencil and simply trace around them, then remove these and fill them in with paint. I have to wait till Milo has a nap though. Obviously to paint, I've learned that lesson many times. Don't paint with a toddler who's awake and running around, because you need to chase them and get paint everywhere. So we'll see how it turns out after I trace them and fill it in with some red paint. So this was insanely time consuming. I have to say, this probably took me 2 hours to paint this because I had to put so many coats on. I've done more fun things in my life. So maybe you guys would be better, I think, using a stencil instead of tracing and then filling it in. Obviously would have been a lot faster because I didn't have to slowly try to go really in the lines, and I really have not a steady hand at all. So what I'm gonna do now is sort of antique it, and how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna dry brush a white on top. If you've never dry brushed before, you'd want to dip your paintbrush in the paint and then take off 99% of it by rubbing it on a paper towel or paper or something to get most of it off. And then you just want to like slightly go over and just dry brush, and it's going to give it a little bit of an aged look. Then I'm going to go over top of that with a dark wax. If you don't have dark wax, I'm using Annie Sloan's dark wax. It's no problem. You can just water down brown paint, like a burnt umber, or any type of brown paint, or even use like a stain, mix some water with a stain if you have some walnut stain or something, and then just lightly brush that on, and it'll just pick up on in a couple little grooves and just give it really an aged distressed look. So first I'm going to go over with a little bit of white instead of sanding, because I think if I sand it'll pull some of the color down and maybe look pink. So I'm going to go over it with white, dry brushing it, and then I'm going to dry brush on some dark oil as well. So I'll show you what it looks like. So I apologize for how dark it is, but I just wanted to show you, I guess, how you get this technique here. I'll show you a little bit on the on the R. So most of the paint, like I said, 99% of the paint is gone. There's a little bit on there, so you just kind of want to lightly go over top. And what it does is all the spots that are a little bit raised or rougher, we'll just tack up a little bit of that white paint there. And obviously the harder you push, the more you're going to deposit. There's really not a science to it. Again, we're going to go over it again with some dark oil, but this is just so it looks sort of so here it is, all done, a giant Be Merry. I actually really like the way it turned out. Like the look of it, the white really looks like it's all faded and scratched off, and I rubbed the brown oil. You could again use a watered down brown paint for this, and you just sort of dry brush it on. So you take off 90% on a paper towel and then you brush, and what it does is it kind of just picks up where, you know, the natural grooves and knottiness of the wood sort of picks up the high points, and it really looks old and rustic, and I love that look. I just wish it wasn't 6 feet. What was I thinking? I'll step back so you can really see. It's nice, it is, it's just really obnoxiously huge, and it was extremely time consuming to paint that on. Probably a stencil would have been a third of the time, a lot faster, but again, it would have been more expensive. So I don't know, I'm out to lunch. I'm out to lunch. That's probably not what you say, but I might move this outside. This might be a really neat little thing to have outside. Another saying I've seen is believe in peace and jingle bells. I mean, there's so many different things you can write for a cool vintage Christmas wood sign. These turned out pretty good though. The same thing I did, I painted them obviously white and then went over with the dark oil. You could use a dark brown paint or a stain watered down. Same type of thing, just to sort of antique them, and it really looks good, and it sort of matches. I get something in my head, I'm like, everything must be antique, and everything becomes antique, but I do like it. I think they turned out really neat, and if you want to make a sign, just probably make a smaller one. That's your tip, and I'll see you next time.